Okay. Good morning. Oh, it's coffee over here. Shkoya. Baruch atah Adonai. V'elam Sharon. Bari. I'm signing Rafa. David. Yeah. We're finally being transparent.
Not just the vessel, sure it's in the vessel.
Being transparent. L'chaim.
Finally.
Okay. The conclusion of the mimer. And I got the audio of the Rebbe 65 years ago saying the mimer, which we're going to listen to in a few moments. Actually, maybe we should do the last part with it. Something else. Something else. It's in Yiddish, so you're not going to appreciate it necessarily, but anyways, got to hear it. And at certain points, a lot of crying, where I was speaking about the neshama is saying, I I took off my clothing. How can I put it back on? My my feet, I washed them already, and so on. But well, we'll get there in a few moments. Okay, this is what it says. That night, we brought everything from Song of Songs, Shir Shirim, right? And, I'm asleep, but my heart is awake. God is knocking on our soul to arouse it from the sleep, saying to open. If you open, there's 4 levels of love, Achaisi, Ayasi, and Nasi Samasi. But the response is, I'm in bed. I took off my clothes right? I washed my feet already. Then comes, that doesn't deter the love of God. He opens up the doorway. The soul isn't ready. He's ready to open it up. And that leads then a person, the soul, to be aroused. So this is what it means that God woke up, the king woke up from his slumber that night. And that is the strength of the miracle of Purim, and not Esther going to Achashverosh, because it's a metaphor for the Jewish people in a place of sleep, spiritual sleep. Nonetheless, the king of the world awoke. Why? Because in the end, it's up to me. Because the Bnei Israel, the Jewish people, had Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, throughout the year. That's why in the Megillah they're called Yehudi. Yehudi means Jew, translated as Jew. Jew comes from the word Yehuda, means Haidah, acknowledgement. Right? They had an acknowledgement in God and denying idolatry. And that created the power of the miracle that the king of the world was moved. And therefore that led for the king Achashverosh down here that he should awake from his sleep. And he commanded to bring the Divrei Hayamim, the book, the chronicles of the court, Divrei Hayamim, meaning in spiritual terms, meaning it drew down also into time and space. Now, there's a miracle sometimes could be beyond beyond the order of this world, but no, it came into the order of this world. Sometimes a miracle breaks nature, like the splitting of the sea, right? But here it came into time and space, into nature. Right? That's in the storyline. Likewise, in the Avodah and the divine service, it means that, when you reach beyond, right, beyond the human condition, so that's Mesiras Nefesh, that's self-sacrifice, that's beyond the human condition. And yet you bring it into the human condition. What's the human condition? Intelligence and emotions. Right? In other words, you bring it inwardly, and it becomes a part of you till it becomes your thought, speech, and action. The garments of the soul. This is the same idea as God doesn't sleep or slumber or sleep. Through us, that it's up to us, we create and draw down into our lives, into our family life, into our health and wealth. Right? As the story of Purim is a story that is niskarim v'nasim, that is remembered and relived. By remembering it, as Rizal says, and we relive it with it and being aroused by the message. We remember, therefore we're reliving it. And we relive it, therefore we bring then, just like then, the Jewish people brought light and joy, gladness and splendor, as it means in the homiletic manner, it means literally. So likewise, we do that now in these days. That there will be for the Yidden, in any place that they are, light and joy and gladness and splendidness. So listen here. This is the beginning of the mimer. Then we're going to go. That's the Rebbe's voice 65 years ago. That night awoke the king, the sleep of the king, right? Which is from the Megillah. So then ask the question, right? How is that as we have to raise our voice when we read that in the Megillah, because that is the strength of the miracle. Why is that the strength of the miracle and not the story of Esther going in front of Achashverosh and pleading the case of the Jewish people, and that in the end it was accepted? That was that. Now I want to go.
Was that when you read that Mordecai saved him from assassination?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the miracle. So he read that.
Yeah, yeah, but it's the beginning line of that story of the narrative, right?
In context.
Right.
Or-
Because who is the king that we're talking about? God, right? Wherever it says king in the Megillah, actually, anytime it says king, it refers to God. It's hinting to God, but especially if it doesn't say Melech Achashverosh, it doesn't say King Achashverosh, it just says king.
So he is mentioned in Megillah.
No, in a hinted way, not openly. It's not the name of God.
I know, but in a hinted way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is where the Rebbe cries, and this is where, in the Mimer, we just learned a couple days ago of the maiden, right? The soul doesn't want. It says, I took off my tunic. I'm in bed. Took off my tunic, which means I don't know. How could I put it back on? Tunic referring clothing, referring to mitzvahs, right? I'm not accustomed to it. How am I going to do this? Not only that, I washed my feet, which is a metaphor. I washed my feet from your feet engaged the physicality of this world. So I've washed my feet from being engaged and bringing anything godly into the physical world. And I'm gonna go get them dirty now, which that's actually, if I do, it's creating. In other words, this action is creating dirt. Dirt meaning as the Rebbe explains, a um, a judgment in heaven above. This is where the Rebbe really cries that that there's this judgment made that will bring negativity to the soul, to the person. Here. I've washed my feet. How could I get them dirty? Yeah, our host's voice is breaking up. God is going up and up and removing himself. How could I wash my feet? You can't get the words out. I've taken off my tunic, my clothes. The judgment comes and says, what do I have to do to cleanse my feet from this world? How can I come back into this world to engage? Okay. The mimer continues in that. And so that the soul's response is, what do I have to, how can I bring anything godly into this world? Right? Wash my feet from this world. Right? Feet touching the ground, this world. And so now the mimer continues that the the the, the one at the door, Daidi, right? So he's not affected by this. And is ready to open the door. Self makes a hole to open the door. That's God who says, okay, I'm still going to come in out of the love that I have for you. I'm still going to bring an awakening from above that you should, get out of your sleep. And that's what continues. Not looking at the fact that there's, the attribute of God's attribute of judgment, right? Would say, well, you don't want to own up, own your life and to take responsibility. Not looking at that, the avarabba, the magnanimous love, the essential love that God has. Anyways, that it doesn't allow any judgment to cloud, and God opens the door for the soul. Again, the Rebbe he's sobbing. He does a way. If you remember at the beginning of the phrase, right? Peacefully, he's knocking on the door. First, he's knocking on the door, right, to awaken us. God's knocking to awaken us. Open up the door, right, in order that you can have a love of a natural love, the love of the friendship love, the sister love, the friendship love, the love of the dove, the love of partnership, right? And the soul is, again, remember saying, oh, I'm not used to this. I took off my mitzvahs. I washed myself from bringing godliness into this world. And so, nonetheless, you're not going to open up. So God opens up. God opens up. All right. So God doesn't take no for an answer. But he opens up, that's the Mesiras Nefesh, the self-sacrifice. So we have to have that, even though we're not feeling it, we're not, we don't sense how, we're bringing godliness in this world. But we give ourselves over nonetheless. That essential love arouses in us, okay. Nonetheless, I'm going to give myself over. That's very powerful. All right. And that's what it means. That night that the king woke up, God woke up to arouse us. But that came because we were, ready to give ourselves over. It's dependent on us in the end. Yeah.